Hi everyone, it's Mark here again. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. We're at 150,000 or so, I think, now across our 8 arts and culture LinkedIn groups. And as you can imagine, I don't get to meet everyone, but when I do, it's a delight. It's Monday morning. This is our first meeting for the week, and I'm joined by one of our full members, Thea Cole. Thea, thank you so much for joining me today for this.
Pleasure. Nice to see you.
We've been nattering already, conversational detours and digressions, which is great. What I'd love to do, just to learn a little bit more about how you tick and where your preferences lie and where your superpowers are. We're going to create a fantasy cultural year based on the work that you do. I
Hmm.
won't give too much away, but that's going to be fun. And then if we've got time, we'll play the this or that game, which I remember from being a kid, which is good fun.
Okay.
But before we do that, thank you so much, as I said, for being one of our full members. We're entirely member funded as a community, so it's very much appreciated. And you won't know it or see it happening, but some of your membership fees per month will be diverted to good causes that other members might nominate. So,
Great.
and as we grow, the more we'll be able to do that. So,
Mm,
excellent.
sure.
So, would you like to say hi and tell us about the work you're doing and about DigiBox especially?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Thea, and I started out in life as a TV producer director. And what that did during the pandemic was take me into the streaming world, as you would expect. So, as TV professionals, we now have all these different strings to our bow, and tools to work with, and that gives us a massive opportunity. So, as I mentioned to you earlier, Mark, my motivation is around creating cultural exchange and understanding through the arts specifically, having sort of started off in life as a musician. So I'm now kind of combining the two things, really, my televisual knowledge and my musical passion, to kind of trying to create this cultural cohesion through the exchange of culture and arts, specifically around performance art. Because there are two reasons for that. The first is that I believe performance art transcends geopolitics and language, and therefore is a massive route to our understanding each other. But equally, in this day and age, we should be receiving cultural content from all over the world, really. There's no reason why we can't anymore. So, actually, wouldn't it be lovely if we could just pick something from a theatre in India and have a look at it, or someone in the States could look at something that we are doing, or whatever it happens to be. That is all infinitely possible now and desirable, in my opinion. So, to that end, I and my colleague Toby Cruz have set up a streaming service called DigiBox Arts. And it's essentially a digital ticketing service that allows you to have a pop up branded stream for your performance whenever you want to. So, you no longer need a channel, you no longer need all the bells and whistles. If you want to become a member of the DigiBox Arts community, then you can just pop up a stream whenever you've got a performance, basically. And that can be as many or as few times as you like over the course of a year. And it allows you to sell digital tickets and find your audience in a wider geographical area, but also a much more diverse group of people. So, to give you the latest Arts Council figure, more or less, and this is a bit of a summary, 75% of us adults in the UK don't go to performances. 25% do, and obviously many of those are great fans and probably very loyal fans. But the 75% of people who don't access performance art have never had that experience of listening and watching probably many of your members across the cultural network. So, if we empower those people to come along digitally, the chances are then the environment of performance is much more familiar, and hopefully that will mean that they go into the concert hall or the theatre physically as well. It may not, you may have reasons why you can't do that, but giving the opportunity for a digital service means that everybody can access the arts. And as part now of the Arts and Culture Network, I kind of think that's probably quite a good thing.
That's great. That's a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much for that. Yes, I think there's a performance of, I think it might be Turandot at the Opera House. I think they're going to stream that to to cinemas.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
but yeah, it's all about access. There's a lovely you've reminded me of something I wrote many years ago. The greatest violinist the world ever saw never picked up a violin. And what I meant
Okay.
by that was that because there will be somebody out there living today
Mm, mm,
who, had they been given the chance,
yeah.
could be the world's finest violinist. And the same is true in all sorts of other disciplines. Maths,
Mm,
probably. I might be a genius
totally.
mathematician, but I don't know because
No, I definitely don't know if I'm a genius at maths. I pretty much doubt it, actually, Mark.
I very much doubt it that I
I'll
am.
stick to
So
what I know at this stage in
um,
my life. But yeah, your point is well made.
well, it's access.
Actually,
It's
it
about
is
access.
access, and it's equality of access, and that really speaks to the Arts Council's Let's Create policy. So, if you're an organisation that is looking for grant funding, digital inclusion is a massive big deal at the moment. For all the aforementioned reasons, really. Why should it be that only people who can actually get there can experience these things? And that could be for all sorts of different reasons, be they socioeconomic or geographical or physical, or even mental health and neurodiversity. So trying to diversify audiences so everybody has the equal opportunity to experience a world. When you go into theatre, and I went to a marvelous production of The Winter's Tale at the Tobacco Factory in Bristol a couple of weeks ago, and it's very rarely done in Shakespeare, actually, because it's quite a problematic play. The first half, if you know it, is so dark and grisly, and the second half almost becomes Midsummer Night's Dreamy. So it's quite an odd mix, and it was the most fabulous production. And you go into these immersive environments, and this was a theatre in the round. There was no sort of digital immersion, but you come out buzzing with ideas, buzzing with inspiration, don't you? Which, as a young person, you can take into your learning or your education. As an older person, it might re-energize you to pick up a hobby or do something differently. So I just think allowing more and more people to have this without being too bold is an opportunity to really change the world that we live in, with all its troubles and tribulations at the moment.
That's great. So where can we find more information about DigiBox for those who'd like to?
Well, there is a website. It's a very basic site with just a kind of info page and a little promo, but it tells you a bit more about it. And it's digiboxarts.com. So as it sounds. And then obviously you can always email me or Toby. So that's Thea at digiboxarts.com, Toby at digiboxarts.com. And yeah, that's kind of, I can't tell you there's a channel because it isn't a channel. That's the whole point. It's your channel with your brand,
Yeah.
And there are certainly examples I can send of our partners, particularly the Early Music Festival in London, who have been great supporters of us right from the get-go. And also we're about to stream in the summer an amazing play by a new playwright called Katja Haddad, about Mariupol, and it's very much a personal reflection on the the troubles of war and what that means to people on a very personal level. So that's going to be really exciting as well. So yeah, digiboxarts.com is the site, and all the info you need is on there. And we'd love to hear from anybody. I should say we've deliberately kept it very low cost to sign up. So we do have also the opportunity for artists and students to have a free streaming service, if you want to kind of try the platform out, or if you've got something that you're doing, that you're filming, that you would like to stream to friends and wider, then please do give me a shout, because it's all doable.
That's great. And is it on demand as well after something has been streamed live?
Well, it can be. It
Yeah.
depends on the client, to be honest. So it can be live or on demand, or any combination of those three, really. So
Yeah.
whatever people want to do. And some people want the stream to close immediately, for rights issues. Other people prefer the on demand, so that they can just post on social and push to it whenever they want to. So all things are possible.
Sounds great. Thea,
Mm.
thank you so much. Excellent. So wherever this appears, there'll be links to you and email
Yeah,
address.
absolutely. Yes. So my email address will be there, and you can get in touch if you would like
Fantastic. Now we're going to have a little bit of fun.
to.
I'm going to take you on a magical fantasy cultural year.
Okay.
I have a magic wand, I
Right.
have a time machine, and I
Ooh,
have a Star Trek transporter.
very cool.
So I can put anything on a stage, basically. Uh, Now I'm going need to place you somewhere in the world. So
Mm.
I'm going to do that by asking you, what's your favorite building?
Oh my goodness, my favorite building. That is a tricky one. I would say, well, I'm going to be unoriginal and say I really like the Olympic Stadium, but only because I worked on it with the architect Rod Sheard when he was building it. I did a lot of work with him around the sustainability of it. So I know too much about that building, really. But also because it's home to the Hammers, where my good friend Bal at Run VT, if you need a post-production house, um, has has a very nice season ticket, which he occasionally lends me. So I'm going to go Olympic Stadium.
Fantastic. It's a great choice. I'd like you to imagine you're sitting somewhere in the Olympic Park,
Hmm.
the stadium and that great big red thing. Um,
Yeah, the
um,
Norris thing,
yeah,
whatever it's called.
and you're admiring the view. Excuse me 1 second. Dog's decided to come in. Come on then.
Hello, dog.
There we go. Sit down nicely. Good boy.
Hmm.
Um, Now it's 6 p.m. on a Friday. It's sunny, it's June, and you're admiring the view of your one of
Hmm.
your favorite buildings, and there is a drink next to you. What would I find there?
Oh, it'd have to be a very nice French Bordeaux, something, a crisp white,
A
dry
crisp
French
white.
white, I
Okay,
think. Hmm.
lovely. A crisp white.
I'm not
And
very original, Mark, am
no,
I?
we're
I'm a
painting the
bit set
scene,
in
you
my
see.
ways.
We're creating the scene.
Okay.
Um, and so there is a book next to you as well.
Hmm.
And the book could be your favorite book of all
Hmm.
time. It could be a recent discovery. It could be a book that's been with you all your life or changed your life. What book might we find sitting next to you there?
Ah, okay. Um, I'm going to go for one of my favorite go-to authors who I want to go back to when I've got more time, is D.H. Lawrence. And I'm not going to name any particular book, actually. No, I am actually. The Rainbow, I think, is probably my favorite D.H. Lawrence. And one of the reasons I liked D.H. Lawrence so much when I was younger is because he sort of straddles the kind of world between the Industrial Revolution and the societal unfairness of that whole model versus this hope of romance and passion and transcendence, I suppose, which is what we all strive for in the arts, I think. So for me, going back to Lawrence and digging back into his writing and the way he speaks and the way he uses accent and class and basically shines a light on all the societal inequalities is one of the reasons I like him. And that sounds really heavy, but I think because it's such a different world, that has parallels with the world we're in now, it feels quite escapist as well.
Love it. I love it. D.H. Lawrence, The Rainbow. That was excellent.
Hmm.
Now you're feeling quite pleased with yourself, okay? Because you've just come from a meeting in the Olympic Park with a wealthy London family foundation who just happen to be West Ham supporters as well.
Oh, I don't
Um,
support West Ham. Plymouth Argyle me.
oh, you're
I
Plymouth
have to
Argyle.
say that. Yeah, I'm a
Okay.
Plymouth girl.
And they like to invest in research around the arts.
Hmm.
Um, and they've got wind of the work that you're doing on DigiBox and
Hmm.
the expertise that you have both in production and the arts in general. And they'd like to hire you for a year
Oh, that sounds nice.
to create a global league table of arts streaming capability.
Okay.
Okay. They
Uh-huh.
need you to find out where the geniuses are, where the hotspots are, where some help might be needed so that arts and culture can reach far-flung places and
Hmm.
you're the person to do this. They'd like to democratize and make more accessible global arts and culture through streaming
Yeah,
using Digibox all over the world.
sure.
Does that sound like
That's the plan.
fun? That's the plan, yes.
That's the brief. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So don't forget we have the time machine and the magic wand and the Star Trek
Oh,
transporter.
yes.
So all they need to know from you is where you'd like to start this research.
Okay. Um, I think there are two ways of looking at this. One is in terms of capability, and without getting too heavy about it, obviously broadband speeds vary greatly around the world, and that is, a consideration. So maybe our magic wand, in our magic wand world, we actually create a world where everyone has access to the internet and really high speed and strength. And wouldn't it be lovely if we didn't all have to pay for that? Which actually, many cities, the infrastructure is all there, and we don't have to all pay our little bill every month. So there's a little note. That would be a wish. So my
Yeah.
magic wand wish: none of us has to pay for internet anymore. It's just there. Okay. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is then, where do you look for artists? And that, obviously, where do you start? So let's whiz in the Star Trek what do you call it?
Transporter.
Transporter.
Water,
Let's have
yeah.
a little whiz and have a look at things. And the first place I'm going to go is I'm going to go and find my colleague Barney Rattle, who is based in Kenya, and he and I are doing a big music project together where he's looking for African artists there at the moment. Actually, this is not fantasy. This is a real. He's found the most amazing band called Fanisi that he's signed, and basically we're looking to do a festival for Malindi. With them in October, which we hope will happen, and that will be a DigiBox stream. So we'll start off in Kenya, and then
Right.
from there, I think we'll go
Hang on, I
continent to
got to get you to
continent.
Kenya
Oh,
there.
okay, okay.
So
So we have to
was it
fly, do we?
Malindi, did you say?
Yeah,
Malindi.
on the
Okay, so
coast.
despite the fact that we've got the Star Trek transporter, we are going to
Hmm.
fly. Okay.
Okay, fair enough.
So I'm flying you to, where's the nearest airport? No,
I think it's Nairobi.
Nairobi. Yeah.
Hmm.
You turned left on the aeroplane because you're traveling
Okay.
first class.
Oh,
There's a
wow.
huge fee in this, and it's first class all the way. Okay.
Things are going up.
Everything at home is taken care of. Friends and family can come and visit you during the year. When you
Cool.
get back, there'll be a TED talk.
Oh, wow.
Yep. You will have a book deal. You will have a TV series, and you will then do a global university lecture tour, having become the go-to expert in this.
Good Lord. Well, that would be very nice, wouldn't it? That would be.
So your steward brings you a nice, crisp, dry white,
Hmm.
um, and a note from the Family Foundation back in London. They like to experiment on you a little bit while you're doing this.
Hmm.
And they've set you a challenge, and that challenge is to listen only to one very specific genre of music for 12 months,
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
to the exclusion of all else.
All right. Well, I'm going to go all mumsy on you now, Mark, because my youngest son is a singer-songwriter, and he's just starting out in his career. And we've spent the whole summer, well, it's not even summer yet, is it? We've spent the whole spring just sort of talking about uh, things like, how do you give yourself a palette? How do you restrict your choices as an artist or a composer in any genre? How does that play out in classical music? What can we look at in that world that we can borrow from in our own creative practice? And all of those big questions. So I personally think my son, Freddie Garner, has just had a bit of a breakthrough with that. And so if I could listen to nothing else, I would listen to all Freddie's pretty much unfinished tracks, although he has finished one or two.
Brilliant.
There's
I
a lot
love
of
that.
lyrics and a lot of melodies to find. So I'd be quite happy to listen to that forever. But obviously, I'm biased.
Yes, you can. That's fine. Now
So
you
what is
get
he? He's
to,
probably fusion jazz pop, I would say.
okay, nice.
Mm,
So we've reached Nairobi, and your friend has and their friends have come to visit you.
mm,
They've said they're going to take you to a dance performance and then
mm.
out to dinner. Now we're
Oh,
in
nice.
Nairobi still, but don't
Yeah,
forget
true.
we still have the time machine and the magic wand. So if I
Okay.
could put any dance-based performance in front of you for 2 hours,
Ooh.
you can go historic, you can go living or not, you can have any dance group, any dance style, any dancer. It doesn't have to be Kenyan culture. So
Okay.
what would you go for?
Okay, well, I'm going to get into the time machine and go back to see Margot Fontaine, because when I was a kid, I did ballet for quite some time, and when you got your certificate after you got your exam, she was the signature on the certificate, and so I kind of dug into her a little bit. You know, I knew quite a lot about her when I was a kid, and I just thought her poise and her demeanor and her what's the word, just the sheer sort of
Class,
beauty of
just
her was
class.
incredible.
Yeah,
So I'd love to have been, well, I don't want to be older, obviously no one wants to be older, but I would love to have seen her dance in
we
her
can do
heyday.
that. We'll take you
So
back to
that would be great.
the Royal Opera House, which is now Royal Ballet and Opera, I think, isn't it?
Yes, I
Yeah.
think it is. I think it is.
Excellent. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what about a national cuisine for dinner afterwards?
Oh, now you're talking, because if we're at the Opera House, then we're in London where all things are available. Um, I'm not a very grand person, actually, Mark, as you probably gathered.
Stop it.
um, so my favourite go-to, and I hesitate to say this, is Dozo on Old Compton Street, which is the most awesome Japanese. It's cheapy, really, and it's just a great restaurant, and it's also very near to Ronnie Scott's, which is handy. So you can go and get your dinner and then pop over to Ronnie's, or even Alfie's now, which is on Greek Street, new
Yeah,
jazz bar on Greek Street, which is awesome. So that's what I am prone to do: a little bit of
perfect.
dozo and then some jazz.
That would be
I
good.
don't know if I'm allowed the jazz and the ballet.
You can have that. We've got some more
Pushing the
things coming
boundaries
up.
here,
We've got
Mark.
more things coming up so that you can choose from. My first visit to
Pushing
Ronnie
my luck.
Scott's was when I was 9.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, and I'm a percussionist by training, so um,
Yes. You
that
didn't
was
go to the
great.
Buddy Rich gig, did you? In the, I don't know how old you are, Mark.
Yeah, I did.
Was it the Buddy Rich, the last Buddy Rich?
No, one of the early ones. It was 71,
Oh, wow.
1970. I was 9. Oh no, it must have been
Wow.
72. Yeah, I was
Uh-huh.
9, and Ronnie Scott came on at half time to
Mm.
tell his blue jokes, and saw a 9-year-old boy in the audience and got one of his staff to take me backstage to meet Buddy Rich.
No, that is bizarre,
Yeah.
because that is how I met Toby, and that must have been so exciting for you.
Oh, it
Um,
was. Yes.
yeah, as a kid.
Buddy Rich, 1972. I mean, when
Wow.
I
Oh,
was,
well, listen, next time, because Toby, my colleague on the DigiBox, we're digressing a bit,
yeah.
represents the Buddy Rich band. So
Ah,
similarly to you, when Freddie was 12, and I shouldn't say this on camera, I smuggled him into Ronnie's, because nowadays you're supposed to be 14. So
yeah.
so I sort of made myself look a bit short, and he made himself. So we were about the same height. And we went into Ronnie's, and that lovely lady on the door with the long hair, she said to me, "How old is he?" And I said, "Oh, it's 14." And she sort of openly laughed at me, but she let us in.
Hmm.
And because he was so titchy, the
Yeah.
same thing happened. The pianist turned around in the interval and said, "You're a drummer, kid?" Like this. And Fred went, "Yeah, I'm a drummer." And he said, "You want to come and meet Mr. Weckl?" So we
Oh
were taken
no.
into the green room to meet Dave
Oh,
Weckl, because this was 2017.
yeah.
And Toby was there, and that's how we met, and that's how the Digibox came about, really.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
last one of the I was there for my stag night as well, but about 8 years, 7, 8 years ago. But um,
Lovely.
well, the best bit, I know we're digressing horribly, but
Yes, we are. Sorry,
not
guys.
to
We're having
worry.
a little
But
chit chat here.
um, the stage and the tables are really quite close to
Yeah,
each other,
yeah.
and so my friend Joff Morgan, a drummer from Guildhall, um, we got the table right next to the stage,
Mm.
about a metre and a half away from Steve Gadd's bass drum.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's cool.
I mean, that
Brilliant.
was just incredible. Anyway, we digress.
Awesome. We
We
do. We
digress.
do. But then you will meet Toby and we can talk drumming.
That would be
Definitely.
fantastic. I'd love
Hmm.
to do that. Um, Now we've done dinner, haven't we? Japanese dinner. Now
Yeah.
we're going to fly again. Where are we going?
Okay. Oh, where should we go? Probably I think let's head to America. I mean, there's a
Mhm.
lot to do in America in terms of cultural cohesion at the
Yeah,
moment, don't you think? So we'll get
yes,
busy over there. Yeah,
yeah. There's
definitely.
a lot of work to be done. Whereabouts in the States would you like to be?
I would like to go to California because, full disclosure, I've never been to California, and I don't know. It just seems to me that it would be huge and fascinating, and full of amazing countryside as well as culture. So
Okay.
yeah.
You're in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And there is a new digital art gallery in Los Angeles, which allows you to put on a virtual reality headset
Mm-hmm.
and step into the work of a famous artist. So it's an
Ooh.
immersive experience, but it's just you with a headset. You can,
Mm-hmm.
in 3 dimensions, 360 degrees, animated perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Which famous artist's work would you like to step into and explore in that way?
I think, and obviously this has been done quite a lot, hasn't it, with the various kind of light installations and things. And it tends to be sort of Monet and Van Gogh was troubled, but it's beautiful, beautiful stuff. I'd quite like to dive into a bit of Picasso actually, because I think, if we're going to solve some of the world's problems, we kind of need to understand what they are. And through drawing and the practice of art, it is almost like a snapshot of the human condition, really. And I think some of the Picasso work is so complex that I've never really had time to sort of really delve into the meaning of it. And you see it and you go, that looks troubled, looks
Yeah,
bad. But that I'd love to have a closer look, really, I suppose.
that's
So
a
that
great
would be cool.
choice. Picasso it is. Now I'm going to fly you back to London,
Mm,
and we're going out every night of the week, you and I.
wow.
We're going to do something cultural or artistic every I'm just moving my camera a bit.
Sure.
Every night. So Monday is a historic pop or rock concert.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Tuesday is a theatre play.
Right.
Wednesday is a Broadway or West End musical.
Yep.
Uh, we're doing the opera on Thursday, and we're going to the movies on Friday. Okay.
And then
What
Saturday we're
a
going to lie down in dark
Saturday is a
room.
lie in and a walk around the park. Yes. So if you could use the magic wand, well, no, the time machine to go back to a concert that you thoroughly enjoyed,
Mm-hmm.
or get to one that you missed,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
what would you choose?
Oh, well, I am a massive Dire Straits fan, so I'm just dating myself now horribly. But I would love to have seen Dire Straits, and I never saw them live. I wasn't much of a concert goer actually, and I went to things because I was a classical music student. I wasn't really very up on pop in some ways, but I had a friend when I was a kid who used to learn all the Dire Straits solos, and that just kind of stuck in my mind, and I still absolutely love them. And
Mm,
so I'd like to have seen them live,
got it.
definitely.
Love that. And what about a theatre play?
Theatre, I really want to see Stranger Things. I'm so trivial, Mark, really.
No, you're
I'm
not.
very mainstream.
I, we're in London on the last Friday of every month, and we're walked down from Tottenham's Court Road to
Yes,
down
yeah,
to the Strand, and I passed that show every
yeah,
time
yeah,
we
yeah. I
visit. Yeah,
love Stranger Things. And
excellent.
if you've not seen it, I think it's definitely worth a binge over Easter, because then you understand why all the 80s fashions are back.
Yeah,
It's cool. And the production design is great. And it's just kind of fun, isn't it? And it's funny. And
it is. And
where are
what
they going
about
to take it next?
musical?
Musical. Oh, this is a bit more tricky actually. I do really like musicals. And I was so lucky to see Follies in the West End years and years ago, probably in the late 80s.
Mm,
And some of the shows are just amazing, aren't they? Really
mhm.
incredible. So I don't know, is Starlight Express coming back, do
It
I
has
gather?
has come back. We could go and see the new
I
production.
never saw that. So yeah, I think that
Yeah,
would be fun. I did see Cats when it very first opened, and it was on a revolving stage. And
yeah.
I'd
New
never seen
London.
anything like that before. I must have been about 16.
I
And
think it was at
yeah,
the
so
new.
good old Andrew Lloyd Webber. Can't go
Good,
wrong with
yeah.
him.
My 3-year-old granddaughter's favourite song at the moment is Gumby Cat from Cats.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
lovely.
What about an opera?
Oh,
Opera
opera. I
buff?
love opera. I love opera. And I was so lucky, Mark. In one of the reasons Toby and I got chatting was when I went to Ronnie's in 2017, I just made a documentary for the commissioner at Sky Arts, Bill Hobbins, who is a very accomplished commissioning editor and producer on Puccini. And I'd been over to Lucca and I'd shot for few weeks of them putting on a performance of La Bohème, which was absolutely fantastic. Opera-wise, I've got quite a bit more diverse taste, I think, and I saw the War Requiem production that ENO did as an opera, when obviously it was an oratorio originally. And I'd love to see that again, because it's very, I mean, it's very dark and difficult, but oh my goodness, one of the most affecting things I've ever seen. So
yeah, I played it. I did it at the Proms many years ago with the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra and Simon Rattle, and yeah, it was incredible.
Well, it's a huge percussion section because it was in the Colosseum, and they had the percussion in the boxes because they couldn't fit them in the pit, So
yeah, and there's a
sort
separate two orchestras, aren't there? It's very clever.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
we did it when we were students actually at St David's Hall, which was amazing.
Well, my favourite student moment was when I was at the Guildhall percussion, and Leonard Bernstein came and conducted a performance of the Mass.
Wow, that's cool.
That's rehearsal cool. Rather, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
Friday.
So that's
Friday is film night.
Movies. Oh my goodness.
We've got the best seats in the house at the IMAX at Waterloo Bridge. And we've got the place to ourselves. What would we watch?
Do you know, there's so many things I haven't seen this year actually. And now I'm talking to you, Mark, I can't remember a single one of their names. But when you watch the BAFTA Film Awards and you think, oh God, I haven't seen any of that. So, but now I can't remember what they are. So I don't know really. I mean, I think my favorite film, I'm sorry to say, is When Harry Met Sally. So it might be nice to see a kind of, how many years is it? 40 years or something.
Yeah.
Is it 40 years?
It must be. Large screen, the whole.
Yeah, and maybe some behind the scenes and, maybe some interviews and how they did this, that, and the other. That would be cool.
That would be very cool. Now we're nearly there, and I'm going to send you off for this further year of travel. But before you do, I'm going to give you a hero lunch. You can choose any one lunch guest, and it can be anyone you like, living or not, and they will turn up.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Well, let's have a think. The question is, are you going to go digital, political, or arty-farty? Or just somebody who I'd really like to see? So I think I'll go with the latter. I did quite a lot of work with the architect Rod Sheard back in the noughties and teenies, I guess we'd call them. And Rod is the most accomplished and incredible designer, and I haven't seen him for many, many years. And I just really love to pick his brains on what's going to happen, the future of architecture, how immersion is going to change things, how are we going to do VR without all wearing headsets, what's it going to look like, how are we going to have projections onto fabrics, and how is digital going to invade and hopefully enhance the performance space in venues. So I would say, Rod, if you're out there, I'd love to have a lunch and a chat.
Brilliant. Love that. Now you're off on your travels, you come back and you do the university lecture tour, the TED Talk, the book deal, the TV show. So you have become the go-to person for making the arts accessible around the world using digital technology with DigiBox. Have you enjoyed, Thea Cole, your fantasy cultural year?
Do you know what, Mark? I love it actually, because it's really interesting just to think about what sticks in your memory, like when you say, what would you like to see, what would you like to do, and how that's shaped my path. So that's been interesting. But what's also interesting is this sort of visioning idea that you could go, wow, do you know what? Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a fantasy, but actually thinking about your goals and thinking about what you want to do and thinking about what's actually possible, it's really fun. I think it's a really good exercise actually.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I will try and implement at least some of it. Hopefully not in 1 week.
No.
Otherwise I'll have to just retire.
Please don't rush off, but in the meantime, thank you so much for being a good sport and doing this. Wherever this
My
appears,
pleasure.
there'll be links to you and a profile about you. So, Thea,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
that's
thank
great.
you
Thanks, Mark.
again for being one of our full members.
Pleasure.